The roots of the Catholic faith here in Michigan's Upper Peninsula in the Diocese of Marquette run so deep.
And he was relentless. He persevered through some challenges that most of us wouldn't have been able to overcome, or maybe would have turned and run from.
He just had this way of exhausting himself, of giving every last bit of his life and his energy to serve the people of God entrusted to his care, especially the Native people.
There was no hurdle or obstacle too great that would prevent him from bringing the faith to the people.
And I can't help but think that we are still bearing the fruits of his missionary efforts in the life of the church today.
From miracle workers to martyrs, to those ordinary people living extraordinary lives of heroic virtue, these are the people that make us wonder if someday they might be saints.
Not only did he bring, the faith here, but he's an important person of the early history of Michigan's Upper Peninsula.
Irenaeus Frederic Baraga was born on June 29, 1797, to a wealthy family in a castle Malavas, near the Carniolan village of Dobranic in the Habsburg monarchy, today part of the municipality of Trebne in Slovenia. When he was very young, the family moved into an even larger castle. If he had wanted, he could have chosen a very easy life. But he looked out for the less fortunate. Even as a young boy, Frederick was known to frequently give his shoes away to those children who had none. He started his studies at age 9 and went away to a boarding school. He had a gift for languages even beyond the educational standard requiring that students be able to speak 6 languages to pass the examination at school. He became fluent in 8. Tragedy hit Frederick at a young age. When he was 11 years old, his mother died. He turned to the Virgin Mary for consolation.
So the influence that his mother had on him was teaching him the faith and a strong prayer life and leading him to the Blessed Mother. And he carried a strong devotion to the Blessed Mother throughout his life.
His father then died when he was 15. With no living parents and as the brother to 2 sisters, he felt a strong responsibility to care for them. He himself had a guardian who encouraged him to go to law school in Vienna at the age of 19, later graduating in 2 years in 1821.
From his days at the university, he began to feel a call to something much greater that God was asking of him. He came under the influence of St. Clement Hofbauer, a Redemptorist priest who worked sort of in what we would call campus ministry there at the University of Vienna. And Hofbauer really inspired Bishop Baraga to live a different kind of life and to give himself in a way to God, to serve especially and to bring the gospel to the poorest of God's children.
After petitioning the government and getting approved to enter the seminary, he was able to complete expedited studies and was ordained to the priesthood on September 21st, 1823. While he was a priest in the Diocese of Ljubljana in Slovenia, he wrote the first of 7 prayer books in the Slovenian language for the faithful and gained a reputation for being genuine and compassionate. He inspired many people to travel great distances to attend his masses and have him hear their confessions. After just 7 years as a priest, Baraga learned from the Leopoldine Society of a call from Bishop Edward Fenwick of Cincinnati to bring the faith to the native people of the United States. Departing from France, it took him 30 days to arrive in New York on December 31st, 1830, and he worked his way to Cincinnati, where he spent a short time with the bishop.
Ha dimostrato di avere una fede straordinaria perché nell'epoca in cui siamo, ai primi dell'Ottocento, lasciare la sua patria per andare così lontano in una terra straniera, tra popolazioni straniere che parlavano lingue diverse, con mentalità diversa e con pochi cattolici.
One of the first things that was assigned to him, he had an 18-year-old native that was assigned to help teach him the language. And Baraga knew right away, because remember, language was so important to him and communication was so important to him. So he knew how important it was to learn the natives' language.
Thus began his 37 years of service as a missionary to the people of the Upper Great Lakes. Father Baraga worked to preserve the culture and history of the native peoples in the Upper Peninsula, found in their language, dress, and tradition.
He really was open to everybody because he spoke in several languages at times, because he had French Canadians, he had in church, he had the native people in church, and so he might give his homily 3 times in 3 different languages. But they loved him so much they wanted to be buried with their catechism book.
These were intended for the native people there to help them teach their own language, but it became a useful tool for those missionary priests who followed in his footsteps.
One of the greatest legacies left by Bishop Baraga were that 17 missionaries followed him from Slovenia to minister throughout the Great Lakes region and into Minnesota. 3 of them became bishops. But he also did a lot of missionary work similar to what we would think today, helping them secure food, helping them secure lodging. For the natives, it was important for him that they had a homestead, that they had a place of their own where they could grow their own food, they could live off the land, and they knew that it was their land.
The missionary activities of Bishop Baraga were widely known, but we get the clearest picture from his own long, detailed, frequent accounts found in his 3-volume diary and his letters to Europe. When immigrant miners and families came to Upper Michigan, he also extended his ministry to them. During the winter months, he famously traveled everywhere on snowshoes, thus earning him the nickname of the Snowshoe Priest. The Upper Peninsula area of Michigan is 16,000 square miles, and he made those long journeys by canoe and by snowshoe, in very dangerous conditions and situations, to reach those new Christians, to baptize, to build chapels, and to bring the Holy Eucharist to them.
E lui è stato veramente un uomo del coraggio, un uomo che lo guidava evidentemente la mano di Dio, questo proprio vuol dire.
And he would just undergo incredible hardship to go and visit the native people in their encampments, and to administer the sacraments to them, to teach them.
Just 18 months after he arrived in the United States, the first church he built was a small construction of logs and bark in Manistique, Michigan, with the willing help of the natives.
It was not an easy life here during his days.
Or if he was invited into somebody's home, if he happened upon a homestead, he might be invited in and he'd sleep just on the floor in front of the stove.
On one particular 5 to 6 week trip from his famous Kewanna Bay mission near Lance, he made the trek to the various native encampments, over 400 miles round trip to Duluth, Minnesota, on snowshoes in the middle of winter. About the same time, he began the practice of rising at 3 a.m. in the summer and at 4 a.m. in the winter, to start each day with 3 hours in prayer, which he continued until the end of his life. In the early 1840s, Baraga was contacted by Chief Assinins in the Kewanna Band of the Chippewa Native Americans, who were hoping to have a priest come to them to teach them the Catholic faith.
Chief Assinins was the first one to be baptized.
That was so important because it opened the door for other natives to be baptized into the Catholic faith, and it helped solidify that mission that was established there in the Lance Assinins area.
In 1843, he moved the mission to Lance, providing enough shelter with heat to help the natives not need to migrate south for the winter.
And they had a deep love for him because they knew how deep his love was for them. Because you could see how he was sacrificing himself for them and how he genuinely loved them.
It was important for him to establish the church, but it was also important for him to establish homesteads. So he built 33 homes along with the church for the natives to live in.
Native people were being removed to Oklahoma, and Baraga, being a lawyer, decided I need to try to stop that. And so he used his skills and his influence to gather money and everything and purchase 500 acres of land so that he could give them the land so they couldn't be removed.
So Baraga was a huge advocate for the Native Americans. He wanted them to be treated fairly and justly. It was important to him that they weren't taken advantage of by anyone, and so oftentimes he would intervene. But they trusted him. They knew that he would help them to be able to prosper, and that's what they all wanted. And they were hungry for the faith. They wanted somebody that would come and teach them the faith and minister to them. And he became a friend, and they became his children. They were his flock.
He spent time in Arbre Croche and also ministered in Grand River, now known as Grand Rapids, Michigan, from 1833 to 1835. For the next 8 years, the mission was in La Pointe, Wisconsin, on Madeline Island. He was elevated by Pope Pius IX as the first bishop of the newly created Upper Peninsula of Michigan and its adjacent islands, and consecrated in Cincinnati on November 1st, 1853, after which Bishop Baraga moved to his first diocese, Sault Ste. Marie. He continued his work of spreading the gospel, and in 1856, he commissioned the construction of the historic Holy Angels Church in Sugar Island. In his 60th year, his stamina started to fail. For 10 more years, he showed these effects in a slower and more painful manner for his work. But he still made midwinter trips to accommodate the native peoples. He continued to serve the dying and those who sought him for confession and God's forgiveness. In 1865, after 12 years at Sault Ste. Marie, Bishop Baraga moved the cathedral to Marquette to be nearer to the center of the area's population and activity, and to be more accessible by ship and train. The Second Council of Baltimore in 1866 required his attendance as bishop. As he was getting ready to attend, he suffered a slight stroke, and then had another during the opening ceremonies. He was very ill, but Baraga wanted to die amongst his people. He left the council quietly and without ceremony to travel back to Marquette. Baraga was very ill during his last months of life. At 70 years of age, his work was limited by illness, but he prayed and trusted up to the hour of his death. He died on January 19th, 1868, in Marquette in the 37th year of ministry to the native peoples of the Great Lakes.
They remembered the great love that Baraga had for them, you could get an idea of how deeply he was loved in a sense of the fact that when they had his funeral, they went to Marquette on a train to attend his funeral during a blizzard.
Today, it is easy to see the influence of this saintly bishop across the state of Michigan. In the Upper Peninsula, a city, county, and state park bear his name, as do high schools in Iron Mountain and Sheboygan. Churches, homes, missions, and statues also represent places where he spent time or had a significant impact.
He has left a living legacy for the people of the Upper Peninsula and beyond that.
There is an impressive shrine overlooking the Kewanee Bay in Lance. When it comes to places in Michigan that honor Frederic Baraga, this one is the ultimate tribute. The Shrine of the Snowshoe Priest features a 35-foot bronze statue standing on a base where each support post has the name of a settlement that Baraga founded. He is not only remembered in physical monuments, but his influence extends to the many lives he touched as he spread the gospel throughout the region.
He wrote 20 Native American books. He wrote 7 prayer books. but of course most notably is the dictionary of the Ojibwa language, which is still in use today, and also the grammar of the Ojibwa language, because it was important to Baraga that people be able to communicate in their native tongue.
Well, from the time I was a seminarian studying for the Diocese of Marquette, the reputation for holiness of Bishop Baraga was widespread throughout the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
In 1993, before he was Bishop of Marquette and now Archbishop of Portland, Oregon, Alexander K. Sample was appointed the vice postulator for the cause by Bishop James H. Garland, then Bishop of Marquette. This was a historic cause. The promoters must proceed without having the benefit of living eyewitnesses to interview.
Written accounts of his labors through letters that had been written, through his own words in letters which he used to write back to the Leopoldine Society in Europe, reporting on his heroic missionary efforts.
The current bishop of the diocese, Bishop John Durfler, has followed his predecessors in recognizing the importance of Bishop Baraga, the first bishop of Marquette.
What it means for us is an ever greater impetus for the missionary effort that is so needed today. The mission country, the mission territory in so many ways is the United States. Our culture is becoming ever more secular. More and more people do not know God. So many people don't have faith. We need examples of undying dedication to the mission field, because the mission field is here. And his beatification and canonization would serve as a model for what we need to focus on in the life of the church.
Lenora McKean is the current executive director of the Bishop Baraga Association.
So one of the biggest activities of the Bishop Baraga Association is to continue to promote the life and labors of Bishop Baraga, to continue to bring people to know him. But it isn't about knowing Bishop Baraga or Father Baraga. It's about coming to the faith. It's about deepening their faith. That's what his mission was. He was an evangelizer. And so that is our mission, is to carry on that evangelization, but to use Bishop Baraga as one of the means for people to come into their faith or to deepen that faith.
Dr. Andrea Ambrosi is the renowned postulator of this sainthood cause and many others in Rome. Before he takes on any new case, he must assess whether there is a reasonable chance of success and if he personally believes that this candidate is saint material.
Sì, ne sono convinto. Io, quando mi si presenta una nuova causa, non accetto mai immediatamente, ma cerco sempre di capire se c'è veramente della stoffa, se ci sono le qualità per portare avanti la causa. E, essendo naturalmente io un avvocato, e una volta che ho accettato l'incarico, cioè che mi sono convinto che lui ha le caratteristiche, ha le doti per essere un santo, allora io mi batto affinché questo accada, è quello che sto facendo in questo momento. Ma non posso, proprio per il mio ruolo di avvocato della Santa Sede, del Papa praticamente, non posso anticipare, potrebbe esserci qualche cosa, ma...
And my task was to investigate some of the alleged miracles that had been brought forward in the Diocese of Marquette. And we needed that miracle to move the cause forward, so he asked me to do a thorough investigation of those 5 or 6 intercessions that had been reported.
With every attempted canonization of a potential saint, the cause seeks to identify 2 intercessory miracles, one for beatification and a subsequent one for canonization, that show the candidate to be in heaven with God. Since the death of Bishop Baraga, there have been numerous claims of the intercession of this potential saint. Things like cures from cancer, from blindness, from financial difficulties. Bishop Baraga has interceded in the lives of the faithful.
Non è facile con I progressi della scienza trovare sempre questi miracoli, però evidentemente la mano del Signore conduce queste cose, perché a volte si trovano, malgrado appunto I progressi della scienza si trovano, e io fortunatamente ne trovo di tanto in tanto. Anche probabilmente per il Vescovo Baraga c'è un possibile miracolo.
On March 10, 2010, Bishop Alexander K. Sample, Bishop of the Diocese of Marquette, called a press conference at St. Peter's Cathedral with some exciting news.
What we have to announce today is that we believe that we have a miracle, a medical miracle, that we can attribute to the intercession of Bishop Frederic Baraga.
The Diocese of Marquette reported that while in the Upper Peninsula, a patient with a liver tumor and her family invoked the intercession of Bishop Baraga and placed his stole on her abdomen. Following the prayers, the patient said that the pain in the abdominal area went away.
She knew immediately that she had been cured, because when she had that blessing with the stole, it was the first time in months she had not been nauseated and she was not feeling sick.
Father Ronald Brown was appointed to lead the work of the canonical tribunal.
Prayed over the lady, they laid the stole on her abdomen region, and she experienced at that time a cessation, and she has testified no indication at all of any tumor, of any growth, of any problem at all. As a matter of fact, they found a completely healthy liver and all organs in that area completely healthy.
So they go to do the exploratory surgery shortly after that, and she told them, you won't find anything there. And she explained what had happened.
Lui mi ha senz'altro detto di sì, sono venuto a Marquette all'epoca e studiando I vari casi ne ho trovato questo pare che si chiamava un buon caso, sembrava.
Despite the excitement and hopes of the diocese, the Vatican has not yet verified the miracle. The Medical Commission met on March 5, 2015, to review the potential miracle or cure that was medically inexplicable. But they did not yet receive a clear majority. This means that they did not receive a clear yes or a clear no.
At that time, they requested additional information, and that information has been submitted to them. And so we are waiting to hear what the outcome of that is.
Today, the Bishop Baraga cause is looking for a miracle that will put him on the path to sainthood.
One person seeking a miraculous healing at the grave of Bishop Baraga was Ronald Provost. After suffering from colitis for several months, he went in for a CAT scan that revealed some troubling results.
And I had cancer in 3 different areas, in the lung, in the adrenal gland of the kidney, and then 7 small lesions on the brain. Was face to face with the doctor. The radiologist said 3 months, 6 months. Well, I thought I was going to die last winter. The cancer was so bad.
At the doctor's encouragement, Ron quickly began treatment with chemotherapy and later radiation for the metastasized lesions on his brain. But that didn't stop him from calling upon the intercession of a potential saint. He went to the cathedral and requested that he be blessed with the actual stole of Bishop Baraga.
Put the stole around me. I knew something was happening, but didn't know till later that it was happening.
Ron quickly returned to his doctor to get retested. His prayers had been answered. Through effective medical treatments and a strong faith, the cancer was completely gone.
Tears, happiness, just busting with joy. Yes, I do believe it was Bishop Baraga that interceded, that I had this stole wrapped around me, and that things happened after that, and that I no longer have cancer. I would say that it was God working through medicine and the doctor and Bishop Baraga. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, and apparently with medicine and with Bishop Baraga, I'm cancer-free.
In gratitude for his believed intercession, Ron has continued his spiritual friendship with the famed former Bishop of Marquette, praying to him often and visiting his chapel in thanksgiving with the hope that someday a miracle somewhere might lead to his canonization.
I tell him every day, I know you need he doesn't really need a miracle. but a miracle would be nice. And I needed one, and I think I got one. Absolutely, Bishop Baraga is a saint. The church hasn't said so yet, but they will.
But the association must continue its search for other miracles worked through the intercession of Bishop Baraga. The Catholic Church's Medical Commission only considers those cases where there has been no medical treatment that relates to the cure. Their strict criteria insist that it must be an instantaneous, permanent, and complete cure of a serious condition, worked through the intercession of a singular potential saint.
The work has been done proving that he was venerable, right? That he lived a heroic life. Now it's on God's time. The miracles, the intercessions, those will happen when God deems it time for his canonization. So we patiently wait, and in that time, we pray and we deepen in our own faith.
Once the Vatican recognizes a medical miracle as being scientifically inexplicable, then Bishop Baraga can be set on the path to becoming one of the Catholic Church's great saints in the history of the United States.
He just had that fervor, that zeal that really I wish we all had who are engaged in the work of evangelization. He was a true evangelizer. I believe Bishop Baraga is a saint simply because of that life of heroic witness that he really gave to Jesus Christ.
That we should love God with our whole heart, our whole soul, and our whole being, and we should love our neighbor as ourselves. Baraga was that way. And so to know that he didn't have to walk that path, but he chose to walk that path, it's a very motivational to me.
So the concept of mission for Baraga was really wrapped around delivering the faith, bringing the faith to the people of the area, whether that be the natives, whether that be the miners, anybody that he encountered. He wanted to be the face of Christ to others, and he saw the face of Christ in them. So it was important for him to meet them on that journey where they were and to help them grow in their faith.
For Bishop Baraga, one thing is necessary, and that's God. That was his motto, and that is the way he lived his life.
This has been They Might Be Saints. I'm Michael O'Neill. Thanks for watching.